Hello, welcome back. Today we are going to show you how to use the Inventables X-Carve CNC router. This video will show you how to use this smaller version right in front of us and the larger version that we have in the department as well. This version we have in front of us right now is a 500 by 500 millimeter version, and the other one is a 1000 by 1000 millimeter version. So let's get started. So the first step for setting up this CNC router is to change the bit out. So for that procedure, we're going to need a 17 millimeter wrench, okay? And we are going to take our hand and we're going to press this yellow button on the right hand side here. We're going to take the wrench, put it on the wrench flats of the collet, okay, and I'm going to loosen that collet up, and then you can pull the bit out. So that's a 1/4 inch flat end mill, okay. We're going to replace that 1/4 inch flat end mill with a 1/8 inch flat end mill, okay. So we are going to put this collet shim right here onto the shank of the bit like that, okay, and then we're going to slide the shim and the bit all together into the collet we just took out, okay. Now we're going to go and thread the collet assembly back onto the CNC router. Now we're going to press the yellow button again, take our 17 millimeter wrench and tighten it. Don't tighten it so tight that you strip the threads out, but we want to be nice and tight in there so it doesn't drift up and down. The X-Carve will plug into the computer via USB like that. The next thing we need to do is we need to plug in our machine, okay. This is the plug for the Arduino G Shields controller, and then this is the plug for the actual trim router that is attached to the machine. After plugging in the machine, we need to turn the machine on. So the next thing we need to do is we need to actually set up our machine using the software Easel by Inventables. So if I type in Easel, E-A-S-E-L, .inventables.com, which is already coming up here on my screen, it's going to bring you to this view. Now, I'm going to sign in through Inventables. On the 1000 by 1000 millimeter machine to the right hand side, there's a login already set up for the Ranger Robotics team. So if you want to use that, you can go and use that. If you want to make your own account, you just go in here and you say, I'm a new customer. You don't have to pay for anything, but you have to sign up if you want to have your own account. So I've already signed up here, and I'm going to hit continue. Okay, so as you can see, here's all my previous jobs, and I'm going to go to new project. Okay, I'm going to click on machine right here on the top left hand corner. Okay, I'm going to go to set up your machine. Okay, now for the 500 by 500 millimeter machine, we're using an Arduino. For the 1000 millimeter machine, we are using a X controller. Okay, the rail size that I'm showing you this on is a 500 by 500. The lead screw is an M8 threaded rod. Okay, that makes a big difference because the pitch and the distance the threads move is totally different compared to the two machines. So when you go between machines, you have to change the machine that you're using, or else you will encounter errors and bad G code, which will cause bad cuts for whatever project you're working on. And the spindle we're using is a DeWalt 611. That says that item number right on the trim router attached to the machine, and we're not using a dust chute. So I'm going to hit confirm settings. Now I need to turn on my machine, okay? And I'm going to hit X, okay? I should see my machine move to the right, then left. I'm going to hit Y. It should go backwards right now, and it will go forwards. You can probably hear it on my recording right now. And then the Z. I'm going to go up, and then I'm going to go down. Okay? So all of these work properly. So I'm going to hit yes, yes, and yes. I'm going to hit continue. We do not have a speed controller for this router. Okay? If you were to buy their 24-volt spindles that they sell with the machines on their website, you could actually attach a speed controller to this. That's nice if you're changing bits and you want to change the feed rate midway through the job automatically, but we could just do that manually by changing the settings on the little hand trim router. So we do not have homing on this machine. We do not have any limit switches. So I'm going to hit no, disable homing. Now it's going to ask me to run my first test carve. Just hit run test carve. Okay. And this is our piece. This is our user interface that we're going to be setting up our file to cut on the machine. I am going to change the bit that I'm using on the machine. Okay. This bit is a 16th inch upcutting bit. I'm going to select it right there. It's the one with the blue collar. Okay, so that is the bit that we are going to be using to cut our pieces on the 500 by 500 millimeter machine. Okay, we're going to be using birch plywood. Okay, birch Luan plywood. Okay, over here, the dimensions of the plywood are 6 inches by 6 inches. Okay, I like to put the size of my workpiece onto the machine so I know exactly where my actual product is placed on my workpiece. My thickness of the wood I am using is 3/16 of an inch. 3/16, okay, or 0.188 of an inch. Okay, so now I'm going to delete all the stuff that X-Carve gave me to do my test print or test cut. Okay? Okay, so our next step is to bring in an SVG file into the Easel software. You could actually design a product within Easel, and I will show you how to add elements from Easel in a second, but I'm going to assume that you've made a file in Inventor and you want to cut it out. So right here, I created a file, okay? This is our file, fairly simple shape. I'm going to look at it from the right side view. And what we want is this face profile. So I'm going to click on that face, then I'm going to right click and choose Export Face As, okay? We're going to save this as a DXF. So I'm going to make sure that the file version is an AutoCAD 2004. I do this because some softwares haven't gone through firmware updates or only refer to one type of DXF file version. So 2004, you're pretty safe. I'm going to hit finish, okay? I've already made this thing once before, so I'm going to choose box thingy and hit save, and it's going to replace it. Okay, so now that's saved our DXF file. We're going to now open up a software called VCarve Pro. Okay, looks like that. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to make sure our job size is 6 by 6 inches, and the thickness of our material is 0.188 thick, or 3/16 of an inch thick. Okay, now I'm going to go into File and Import Vectors. I'm going to choose that box thingy file that I just made, and there we go. It's in here. Now, I'm going to make a separate tutorial on how to exactly use VCarve. So this is not a nitty-gritty to the detail how to use everything in VCarve. This is just a video showing you how to go from a DXF file in Inventor to an SVG. So I'm going to hit File, Export, Selected Vectors to SVG. So that means I need to select my vector first, and then go to Export, and go to Selected Vectors to SVG. Okay, so I'm going to create box thingy SVG. Okay, it's going to ask me to replace it because I've done it before. And there we go. That's it. Now what I can do is go back to Google Chrome where I have an Easel open, and I'm going to hit Import on the Easel software. Okay, and I'm going to select SVG. Okay, and I'm going to open that SVG document. Okay, so there is our SVG document, and I'm going to just center right on our material. Okay, so if you look right here, there is a scale right here. So if I bring it halfway, you can see that I can't see through the piece anymore on my file view right here. If you look, see how the color is relatively the same, brown, brown. Now if I go all the way to 3/16 of an inch, hey look, it cuts all the way through. So I want to make sure that this little slider is brought all the way down to 3/16 of an inch. Okay, now I can choose. I can choose it to cut on the outline, which is the outside of the SVG file I just brought in, or fill. And if you look, that's what it does if I do fill. Okay, I want to select outline because I want this profile. Okay, and underneath that, I can choose to use tabs. Okay, I'm going to use tabs. Tabs hold the piece down so they don't skip out of the machine when you're cutting it. Okay, and those sizes are acceptable. So what I simply do here is I can drag the tab anywhere I want on the drawing. Okay, so I'm going to just center them all on the flat faces here. Okay, there we go. Our tabs are in place. Okay, now what if I want to add a shape? Okay, what if I want to add a shape? Let's say I don't want to do too much designing. I can find an icon. I'm going to choose this bike icon right here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize the icon. Okay, and I'm going to just put it on the face of my file that I'm making. Now, if I want to create a let's say ground, okay, let's say I want to make a roadway that this thing wants to travel on. Okay, I'm going to just drag it out here. Okay, and then set the bike right on top of that. Okay, I'm going to select all of this, center it again. Okay, now if you look, if I want to choose a certain drawing within the file, I can click on it and I can change the depth that it cuts at. So I'm going to make this line cut all the way through. Okay, now the reason why that's not appearing on there, if you look, I don't see my line, is because it's less than 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to make it wider. Okay, so the bit can cut it out. Okay, I can also free draw in this software with lines. Okay, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, just show you that we're capable of doing that. I could also put text, okay? Maybe I want to use this text right here. I'm going to just come in and it's actually not, oh, I have too many things selected. That's why this is going on. So I'm just going to select my text, delete, 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 and I'm going to type in bike, okay? Oh, don't hit enter. Bring it over here and resize it again. Now, let's say for this one, I'm going to make it an outline and I'm going to cut it on the line. Okay? I'm going to move my bike up a little bit. I'm going to move my line up a little bit. So my bike will fit right there. And I'm going to cut this one all the way through. Okay? Or maybe not. I'll just cut it like a little profile. Okay, and we'll just do it on the surface to save us time when we cut it out. Okay? So there we go. Now our file is ready for cutting, and that is the next thing I'm going to show you. Okay. So we put a sacrificial piece underneath that sits right below our piece that we're cutting out. Okay? So that gives us more longevity for the table. The next thing we need to do is we need to actually load up our material on the machine. Okay, so I have these 6x6 plywood pieces that I cut out earlier on the table saw, and I'm going to be using these little things called bench dogs. Okay, they have a flat side right here, and then they have a carriage bolt on one side, and that carriage bolt rests against the face of the table. Okay, and what I'm simply going to do here is I'm going to align my piece of wood along the grid lines that are on this table. Okay, and get it relatively square to that. Okay, and then I'm just going to take the Allen wrenches that we have in the yellow or the red box that we have next to the machine. Okay, and I'm going to just clamp down our pieces. So, as you can see, we are now back into Easel, and we are going to get our product ready for cutting. So we put the bench dogs here, and here, and here. And we're going to set the origin over here. So let's get started. We're going to hit carve in the right-hand corner. Confirm our material thickness, 3/16 of an inch or 0.188. So hit confirm. I'm going to secure our material down. We already did that. Okay. Now we're going to make sure that we have the right bit in. It is a 1/16 up cut bit. We're going to confirm that bit size. And now we need to actually zero our machine. Okay. So what we are going to do now is we are going to move the machine over, and I have it on the inch setting right now. So I'm going to go 1 inch over, 1 inch down, okay? And another 1 inch down in the Y direction. And now I'm going to hit the Z-axis 1 inch down, okay? So now we need to set the Z-axis, okay? So I'm going to come over here to the 100th of an inch. And I'm going to step the machine over to the corner. And I'm going to grab a piece of paper and put it right underneath the bit. Okay, now I'm going to go to thousandths of an inch. I'm going to step it down. Until it comes in contact with the paper. Right now what I'm doing is I'm clicking the down arrow and I'm moving the paper back and forth until it just catches. So it just caught right there. So I'm going to go 2 steps up. 1, 2. So we're 2/1000ths of an inch above the piece of wood. Okay? So now we're zeroed, or now we at least have the height, the X and the Y set. So now I can hit confirm home position. This is what the origin will be, the home, okay? So we're gonna raise the bit, okay? And now we're gonna turn on the spindle. And now I'm going to hit, the spindle is on, and now I'm gonna hit carve. And now we are going to let it cut. Turn off the machine. Okay, and I'm going to move the whole gantry system back, and I'm going to loosen up the feed dogs. There we go. So there is our piece done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the sander in the other room, and I'm going to just clean up all these edges. You need to vacuum the bed. Okay, there is our final product. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and I hope it helps.